Hello, girls, and welcome to your session on contract of agency. In business, no one can do everything on its own, isn't it? Everyone needs somebody to help them out. He needs to delegate part of his authority to others to get things done. हर व्यक्ति को ये बिजनेस ट्रांजैक्शंस में किसी न किसी की जरूरत पड़ती है। अपना काम कराने के लिए वो किसी और को काम देते हैं जिससे उनका काम अच्छे से हो सके। सारे काम तो एक इंसान कर नहीं सकता। He may do so either by appointing someone on his employees list or as his agent. अब चाहे तो वो एज एम्प्लॉय किसी को अपॉइंट कर सकते हैं, चाहे तो एज एजेंट भी अपॉइंट कर सकते हैं. But someone is appointed as an agent, he acts on behalf of the person appointing him. अब अगर उन्हें एजेंट अपॉइंट करते हैं तो सामने वाले प्रिंसिपल की बात उन्हें माननी पड़ती है. मींस जो ओनर है बिजनेस की उन्हें प्रिंसिपल यहाँ कहा जा रहा है. So legal status of an agent is quite different from employee. अब employee और agent में difference होता है, that we'll see further. An agent acts as an employee, but on behalf of that other person, making him liable by his acts. The person who is appointed to work for another person on his behalf is technically known as agent. If you talk about the Indian Contract Act 1872, then this particular word agent has been defined under section 182 and as a person employed to do any act for another or to represent another in dealing with third person. किसी और व्यक्ति के लिए काम करने के लिए जिन्हें अपॉइंट किया जाता है, थर्ड पर्सन के लिए काम करने के लिए रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए जिन्हें अपॉइंट किया जाता है, उन्हें हम एजेंट के नाम से जानते हैं. The person who does act or represent other is known as agent, and the person who is so represented is known as principal. So, this particular section 182 also defines principal. According to this section 182 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, the person for whom such act is done or who is so represented is called the principal. And therefore, the person who has delegated his authority will be the principal. जो पर्सन अपनी अथॉरिटी डेलीगेट करता है, जिसको रिप्रेजेंट करा जाता है, उन्हें हम कहते हैं प्रिंसिपल. And the contract through which relationship of agency is created between the agent and the principal is known as contract of agency. The contract of agency is also a species of general contract with some distinct feature. So contract of agency is made for creating relationship of agency between the principal and agent. Now take for an example. A is the businessman. He delegates B to buy some goods on his behalf. Here A is the principal and B is the agent. And the person from whom the goods are bought is the third person. Now, the basic question, who can appoint an agent? So the answer is given under section 183. Any person who has attained the age of majority and is of sound mind can appoint an agent. In other words, any person capable of contracting can legally appoint an agent. So minors and persons of unsound mind can't appoint an agent. So over here in this 183, you need to remember what? Capacity of parties of part 1 of Indian Contract Act. So 183 सेक्शन के अनुसार ये क्या कहा जा रहा है कि हर पर्सन जो भी एज ऑफ मेजॉरिटी का है, जिसका साउंड माइंड है, वो एजेंट को अपॉइंट कर सकता है. ही इज केपेबल ऑफ अपॉइंटिंग एजेंट लीगली. माइनर एंड पर्सन ऑफ अनसाउंड माइंड आर नॉट अलाउड. नेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन इज हु मे बी एन एजेंट. अब एजेंट को अपॉइंट कौन कर सकता है ये हमने देख लिया, पर एजेंट हो कौन सकता है. नाउ in the same fashion according to section 184. Now the answer is given under section 184. The person who has attained the age of majority and has sound mind can become an agent. A sound mind and a mature age is a necessity because an agent has to be answerable to the principal. So now the answer is quite similar, but the sections are different. So agent भी वही person हो सकता है जो इसकी age majority की हो, 18 years old हो, and who is able to understand the nature of the contract. Means he is of sound mind. Why he should be of sound mind? Because he needs to answer the principal regarding his acts. Now there are some general rules of agency. Now, whatever a person can lawfully do himself, he may also do the same through an agent. जो भी पर्सन खुद लॉफुली कर सकता है वो सारे ही काम वो अपने एजेंट के थ्रू करा सकता है. सेकेंड रूल, he who acts through another does by himself. Now, the person who is acting through another person, it is assumed that he is doing it himself. Means जो भी व्यक्ति अपना काम किसी और पर्सन को डेलीगेट करके एजेंट के थ्रू करा रहा है तो उसमें ये माना जाता है कि वो काम खुद स्वयं कर रहा है. Now let's talk about the legal rules over here. So first and foremost, legal rule is a maxim. Q facet per alium, facet per se. One who does through another does by himself. जो भी किसी और के थ्रू काम करता है ये माना जाता है कि वो खुद वो काम स्वयं कर रहे हैं. So it means that acts done by an agent are binding on the principal. जो भी acts agent करता है वो किस पे binding होते हैं? Principal पे binding होते हैं जो principal उनको appoint करते हैं. And these acts will have same legal consequences as would have been done by the principal himself. जो भी act agent कर रहा है उनकी same legal consequences होगी जब principal खुद उन्हें करता तब भी. Next important rule is the person may appoint someone as his agent for doing those acts which he is expected or authorized to do. Now, the person may appoint someone as his agent for doing those acts which he is expected or authorized to do. But this rule has many exceptions in practice, such as in a contract of personal nature involving personal services, skill, qualification. An agent cannot be appointed for performing the promise. बिकॉज कहीं स्किल की रिक्वायरमेंट है, अगर बहुत रिनाउंड पेंटर की जरूरत है वो पेंटर ही वो काम कर सकता है, हर कोई नहीं कर सकता है. थर्ड रूल इज एन एजेंट इज बेसिकली अ रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ऑफ whom? Agent is basically the representative of his principal. So the agent is basically the representative of the principal is the third basic legal rule. So it is a representative character of his functioning which distinguishes him from other employees. In fact, an agent represents his principal in dealing with third party. Agent हमेशा किसको represent करता है? Principal को represent करता है. Last important legal rule is the main job of an agent is to bring third party into contractual relationship with his principal. Agent की main task क्या होती है कि third party को contractual relationship में principal के साथ लाना. So as soon as this relationship is established, he is no more in picture. जैसे ही relationship establish होती है, agent का काम खत्म हो जाता है, and then the third party and the principal deals on their own. Now, what are the essentials of a contract of agency? Contract of agency has these all following essential elements. First one is the agreement. So to form a contract of agency, there must be an agreement between whom? Between the principal and the agent, which leads to creation of relationship of agency between them. So the contract of agency is based on true nature of relationship. Such agreement may be expressed or implied by circumstances, by operation of law and intention of the parties. Secondly, contractual capacity is another essential ingredient of a contract of agency. So in a contract of agency, there are two parties, namely the principal and agent. The principal must have contractual capacity, as we have seen in section 183 and 184. According to section 183 of this act, any person who is of the age of majority, according to law to which he is subject, and who is of sound mind may employ an agent. However, agent need not to have contractual capacity, according to section 184 of this act. As between principal and third party or third person, any person may become an agent. This is so because an agent does not make contracts on his own. In case an agent has no contractual capacity, such as minor agent, the interest of third party is not going to be affected. Rather, such agent will not be responsible to his principal but third party will be bound by that act to the principal. So the principal must have contractual capacity, but it is not necessarily same for the agent to have it. So minor person can also be an agent. But in that case, the liability will be on whom? The liability will rest on the principal only, not on that particular minor agent. Third essential ingredient of contract of agency is consideration. Although the relationship of agency is created by agreement, but it is not necessary that such agreement must be supported by a lawful consideration. According to section 185 of this act, no consideration is required to create an agency. जैसे हमने देखा है पार्ट 1 के टाइम that without consideration there can't be a valid contract. But in a contract of agency there is no requirement of consideration over here. Without any valid consideration, the contract of agency is a valid contract. Last but not the least is privity of contract between the principal and the third party. An agent acts on behalf of his principal. He establishes privity of contract between principal and third party. But whatever he does on behalf of his principal, within the scope of authority given to him, all such acts will be binding on the principal in relation with third party. Like take for an example, A has been appointed agent of B. A buys raw material for B on credit from C. In case B refuses to pay, C can sue him for the recovery of payment. It's because there is a privity of contract between B and C. So these are the essentials or important ingredients of contract of agency.